Welcome to 180 Boom, a podcast following Alvis, an award-winning no-profit organization headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, who has been making a 180-degree impact in the community for over 50 years. Here, you will hear about the outstanding work helping individuals and families turn their lives around. Alvis' vision is for communities to value a person's potential rather than their past. Tune in once a month to hear about the empowering life-changing programs, services, and stories of second chances, hosted by members of our creative team here at Alvis. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of 180 Boom. Today we have all of our interns here with us to discuss their experience over the past few months. So why don't we start with a brief introduction of everyone and their roles here at Alvis.
I'm Katie Harder. I do graphic design as well as content creating in terms of some film photography and editing.
I'm Becca Moore, and I do the social media.
I'm James Hagerman, and I do content writing primarily for the blogs.
I'm Valerie Orr, and I do the cinematography and editing for most of our videos.
And I'm Kenisa Odell. I'm doing some marketing, but also leading this podcast project.
So, Becca, can you tell our audience about Alvi, and how do you feel about him being the new face of the creative team?
I think it's actually kind of crazy, but funny because we needed to make a post for World Emoji Day, I remember, and Priscilla had the idea. She like just mentioned in passing. She was like, I think it'd be cool if we made an emoji, but then she like left the room. And then I was like, I don't know what else to make. I need to make a graphic for this day. And so I just started messing around with the Alvis logo. And the blue circle kind of looks like an eye. So I just like put two of those together and then a little smile. It was really easy. And then so we were all just sitting there, and I was scared to show Priscilla, so I didn't think she would like it, but I did, and then it ended up kicking off, and then it's the face of the creative team. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy how like a random little idea can turn into something bigger, and I hope it lasts for a while even after I'm gone.
So it will people love Alvi, like it's going all over, kind of on emails throughout the company, and not just social media, it's like internally, everyone, we love Alvi. So you create for our social media pages. What goes into a single social media post?
So basically I have to make a graphic to like be put on each platform, and then make a caption. So a lot of times we like look at the calendar and see what's coming up and the events that Alvis has going on. Every month there's random days that you wouldn't even think that we have, like World Gratitude Day. And one time we did National Hamburger Day, which is fun. But anyway, I just make a graphic and then try to connect it to Alvis and what's going on in the organization. Sometimes I base my post off of James' work, and I'll read his blog and then make something interesting, make that into like a post that catches people's attention. And yeah, I make a call to action to like maybe our YouTube channel or our blogs. And so yeah, that's what I do every day.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you, Becca. Now, James, can you please explain the process of creating a blog to our listeners?
So it really depends based on what type of blog it is. Sometimes it's a national day or a global event. So in those cases, a lot of research goes behind the blog and just trying to figure out how that can tie back to Alvis. And sometimes there's interview blogs too. So I'll sit in on an interview. Usually Priscilla will be the one asking the questions, and I sometimes draft up the questions, and then I'll just create a blog post out of whatever the interview was. And even just going to events and observing them, I've written some blog posts for that too. So like Summer Quest or a family and children's program, stuff like that. And then after that, I type up the blog post, upload it to WordPress, and you can find it at lifeatalvis.com.
Thank you. Now, tell me one thing here. Which blog was the most difficult to write for, and which one was the most rewarding?
I would say the most difficult would probably be the first 2 blog posts I made, which were on amethyst, and they were probably just the most difficult because I was very new to Alvis, and I didn't really know much about what amethyst even was. And after I wrote the blog posts, I had to keep sending them. It was probably 3 or 4 different edits, but it was also the most rewarding for that too. So it was the most difficult, but the most rewarding to do the amethyst blog posts because I think they turned out really well and they're very informative.
They're excellent. I also wrote people, if you don't know about amethyst, just read that blog piece. Like I haven't seen with Alvis any piece that kind of really cover the whole thing and explains to the daughter. I love that one. Thank you, James. Now let's move here with Canise. Can you please tell us about the process of creating this podcast?
Yeah, so I think everyone initially thinks a podcast would be something super easy. You just, record some audio, slap it onto iTunes, but it was a whole compilation of everybody's different talents. We had to come up with a name. We had to find something trendy, something that no one had, so we could create everything based on that. Katie did the design for it. It had to be very super specific. Then we had to come up with scripts and edit it. So it's a long process, but each episode is going to be totally worth it.
You are so excited. That's so new to us. I'm like, and it's so true what the point you brought up. I didn't know how much it was behind of producing an episode. And I can absolutely love how you make the scripts. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is much more than I thought. So tell me, like, on the middle of all this process, what have been some challenges along the way?
I think the main challenge would be coordinating everyone's schedules. That has been the most difficult thing. For us to do this podcast, we had to completely set aside a time for all of our interns to meet. If we're meeting with chief officers, we have to work around their schedule and then find times. And sometimes we only have like a 15-minute window that we have to really be prepared for. So you have to have all your ducks in a row. But as I say, every episode is so unique, and it's going to be worth all the effort that we put into it.
That's excellent. Super excited. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Now let's move here with Katie. Katie, how did you become interested in graphic design and photography?
That kind of goes back to high school. I was a pretty big yearbook nerd, and starting from I was in it from freshman to senior year, and I was chief editor for my junior and senior year, and there was it was a small staff when I first started, so even my sophomore year it started with, okay, let's design what the spread's supposed to look like. And it was also, I was really interested, and still am interested in like art and drawing and painting, and this was kind of a pretty natural transition to something that like I enjoy and good at, but then it's also practical in terms of something I kind of want to do with my career in terms of like communications. And so it was a lot of figuring out layouts of photos and headlines, and then I really enjoyed it. And it's with taking pictures too. It was we have a small staff, you're doing every type of job, and that became a big passion for high school, and it still is today. So, yeah.
Awesome. Tell me about like kind of going back to the graphic design and the process.
I think it is helpful when it's first established, like Alvis has these different blue colors, and so okay, I'm going to probably stay in that kind of realm unless it asks for something else. So you have like those guidelines, and you have the type of fonts that you have. You're not going to do anything crazy, it'll be like sans serif fonts instead of serif fonts, and like little things that I've learned like from class to be like, okay, so that's what this company's look is, and let's go that direction. And so that helps narrow it down too. So even though you're looking at like a blank page when you start, it's not really, because you have those kind of guidelines. And then I find that the less you really think about it and put less pressure, it'll be like, okay, that'll be fine. And the more you do, I think, especially as the summer goes, it's like, okay, yeah, I know exactly what that kind of thing is. And then it's also been fun to kind of experiment with now the creation of Alvi, and I've now made Alvi drowning, Alvi saving the world, and Alvi swimming in a life vest or in the ocean. So, it's definitely made me have creative outlets too, which is fun.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love it. Like, the animation, I'm like, oh, this is hilarious. It's super fun, and you're always game for it and trying and learn and going for it. And that was great. Thank you. Now let's move here with Val. Tell us, what is your favorite part about creating videos?
I would have to say my favorite part of creating videos is just the sheer amount of creativity that has to go in every video made. You can tell when not a lot of thought has been put into a video, and as an editor myself, I always want to put my best foot forward and represent this, not only the story that I'm telling in the best light that I can, but in this instance, Alvis, the entire company, in the best light that I can.
Tell our listeners, what is the most important element to a video and why?
Going back to what I kind of just said, the details, the small details in every video are much more impactful than I think they get credit for, whether that being lining up a certain action you have with a drop beat in a music track, or whether it's, picking out which angle to view what from, or just even the ordering of montages can be a bit tricky in making one video that makes sense and doesn't feel awkward. So yes, that's the long way to say that details are very important.
You are very, very good on details. Like everybody would always be, you would wow the entire team with like exactly what you brought up. Like, from the little, like the music, the beat, exactly on the moment and the scene, and you are amazing with that, which makes your videos amazing. And we are thankful to all of you. And as a matter of fact, I want to kind of take the moment here with you guys to just say out loud, to give you guys a shout out to, because it's so well deserved. I want to personally say thank you to each and all of you. I want to thank you for your creativity, for your dedication, for your commitment, for your hard work, for your compassion, for your professionalism, for your honest, your unique talents, all of you, your curiosity. And that goes to Becca, James, Val, Katie, Kaniz, Ezra, and Susanna. Thank you guys so much for all you did. I learned a lot, and I know you guys brought so much to Alvis as well, and to myself and everyone that you guys touch. So thank you. We appreciate it, all you did. But let me get back here on track with Kaniz's script. So thank you all for coming and sharing your internship experience. I have one final question for you all, which is, what would you say to someone who is on the fence about applying for an internship with Alvis or any other company? The point is to talk about the value of internship. Can you guys please share a little bit about this real-world working experience and how what you have learned in school has helped you to do this job?
I would say that it's really satisfying for when you learn something and then now you're like actually able to put it in practice. Like that's been like really exciting, and especially like now I'm realizing how much stuff I know about like technology and these equipment. It's like, oh wait, I know actually how to use these things. Or learning about fonts, and the amount of classes I've taken on fonts is kind of ridiculous. And so to now like use them again, it's just very satisfying and rewarding. And I think it also is definitely gonna like help with that transition from like all of us have only done school forever, like since we're in kindergarten to like now we're going to be graduating very soon. And so doing an internship definitely makes a very soft transition between school to then internship to then real world job. And so I think without an internship, like that just makes such a hard transition. And so I feel very lucky that we've had a summer like this to get us acclimated into the world of business and stuff like that. But yeah.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah. Now go Becca.
So when I was applying, I knew I was interested in social media and like PR and stuff like that, but I didn't really know. I was just kind of confused. I knew I was like interested in that kind of world. Went in kind of like blurry, like not really knowing what I was going to be doing. And then I just immediately started doing like posts every day and like just doing posting stuff, like focus on social media. And by the way, before I came here, I have never used Canva one time in my life. This is the first time. And then I realized that I really actually kind of love like like making little graphics, and so that has been really fun this summer, getting to be creative. And I think before I was more interested in the analytics side, but now I really love making posts. So I think internships are great to figure out like what you are good at and like things you wouldn't even know that you were good at. And I think just like to test out what you like and what you don't like and what you're looking for in a career. And like Katie said, this has been a good bridge from school to the your career in like the business world. And I think we're also lucky to have Priscilla as like a really good, she's so flexible and like just a really great boss. So I'm really grateful I had this internship. So yeah, I think you all should apply.
Thank you, Becca. You're awesome. We love having you. James, your turn.
So I would definitely say that having an internship for me, especially because I did content writing, it was way different than doing an English class or creative writing, because one of my majors is English, and I found a lot of my posts were similar to when I briefly did a school newspaper in college, because it's just the writing style. So it's interesting to get a feel for the kind of writing style that blog posts are, and probably a lot of freelance jobs, what they would be like, because I know that a lot of people who want to go into writing, they do freelance. So that was just really valuable experience, and I'm so happy that I got to do this internship. And it is also cool to see when you are applying skills that you learned at school to the job. Like when I'm writing a paper, I'm always trying to figure out what the thesis is, even for a blog post, because it's basically just like the main idea. So something like that is cool, because I'm kind of primed to do that, and I think I picked that up in school, but knowing that it has some application in the real world too is nice. But yeah, this has been a really fun internship, and getting to work with a creative team and to bounce off ideas with each other, that's just really awesome. So I would definitely recommend applying for this.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you, James. Val.
In terms of internships as a whole, it's very important to have a portfolio. Since we're a creative team, that's kind of like our version of, say, an education major goes and does student teaching for a certain amount of years, or semesters or anything like that. This is kind of our buffer in that sense, but honestly, I agree with Becca. We're really lucky because a lot of places that do throw out internship ads just kind of want extra hands around to do tiny little meaningless jobs, and then they might give you a few creative things but then throw you right back into the bushes. So I think that it's been really valuable for me personally, and I think for all of us, being able to, again, as everybody's already said, apply what we know, but then also learn new things. Like I had to learn, number one, what a teleprompter kind of was, how it functioned, but then also how to write a correct script for it, or edit in terms of somebody reading off of a script, staring at a camera the entire time. So I would say Alvis is a very important thing, I think, to all of us now, not only in just helping us with our resumes and learning things from each other as well as the company, but also just like learning what it is to have a mission and have a goal and stay on track and go after it.
Interns can bring so much value to any company. It's like extra brains, more talents, different views, perspectives. So thank you, Val. Now Kenise.
My major's in journalism, and at my school they teach us to be multimedia journalists, and I'm like, I don't need these radio classes, I don't need these website classes, I'm only going to go into TV, so I don't need to learn all this stuff. But then it gave me just a deep appreciation for like the dynamic of a company, but also my education, because I've done so much with the website, the podcast. So just this opportunity showed me how well-rounded I am for a company, and I think that'll fare really well in the real world when I do get a job. And also I really loved how it gave us exposure to working with different people. Like we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I've never worked with a group of people so large and no one clashed with each other. Like someone always found something with another person that they could connect with, and we joke around all the time. So it was a unique experience, and I'm excited to see if I'll ever get something so special in another place.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're missing a few of our team here, but
Yeah, we can say hello to Suzanne and Ezra.
Yeah.
I wish you all great success, and always remember, each one of you all have the ability to go as far as you want to go. That's all for this episode of 180 Boom. Don't forget to like and share our podcast, as well as follow us on our social media platforms, where we post new content daily. Until then, continue to make a 180-degree impact in your community and your own lives. Bye.